There's something you have to understand about the bad guys. They all come from somewhere. Not like Omnics come from Omniums, bad guys aren't really made, but even Reyes and Widowmakers have their tale of falling into a criminal lifestyle. That's why I'm putting out this file on two of the most notorious villains to date, Junkrat and Roadhog. After the Omnic crisis, government officials gifted the Australian Omnium and the surrounding area to the Omnics that had nearly destroyed their country, hoping to establish a long-term peace accord. This arrangement permanently displaced Mako Rutledge and a large number of the Outback's residents, just scattered them into these collections of survivalists, solar farmers, and people who really just wanted to be left alone. Now, they were pissed about losing their homes, so Mako and the others turned into a violent rebellion. They formed this thing called the Australian Liberation Front and struck against the Omnium and its robot population to take back the lands that had been stolen away from them. Now, all this continued to escalate until the rebels sabotaged the Omnium's fusion core, resulting in an explosion that destroyed the facility, irradiated the region, and littered the Outback with twisted metal and wreckage for miles around. So, those Mad Max movies, basically. Now, the attack on the Omnium had devastating consequences, yes, but there were some people who survived. They started calling themselves Junkers, and they scavenged the husk of the Omnium and formed this lawless, cutthroat society in its shadow. Junkrat, or Jameson Fox, was one of them, eking out this living reclaiming meddling components from the ruins. Now, like many, he was affected by lingering radiation, which may explain his touch of madness. Though it did make him ideal for handling dangerous explosives, a love which turned into a bit of an obsession. Now, Junkrat came to notoriety when he discovered this extremely valuable secret or treasure in the bones of the Omnium. Now, not a lot of people knew the nature of just what he found, but Junkrat was still pursued by bounty hunters, gangs, and opportunists everywhere he went. Until he made a deal with the Junker enforcer, Roadhog, who grudgingly agreed to be his personal bodyguard in exchange for a 50-50 split of the spoils. Now, despite being so, different in appearance, Roadhog's story is actually similar to Junkrat's. Mako Rutledge, who we mentioned earlier, watched his home become this apocalyptic wasteland, by his own hand, I'll add. Adapting to his environment, he donned a mask and took to the broken highways of the Outback in his ramshackle chopper. Little by little, he just forgot about his humanity. The last vestiges of Mako fade away, and the ruthless killer Roadhog was born, which is around when he fell in with Junkrat. The two of them eventually left the Outback and embarked upon this international crime spree, leaving nothing but havoc and bedlam in their wake. They were responsible for a string of robberies, arson, murder, and other crimes stretching from Sydney to Kings Row. They had this creed of no job too big, no score too small. They performed this heist of the Banco de Dorado by digging a tunnel. In the UK, they stole the crown jewels. And in Korea, they stole a bunch of stuffed animals from vending machines. It's weird, I don't understand these guys. Anyway, British, French, and Latin American authorities have offered rewards for information on the fugitives, and theorized they were intent on crossing the Atlantic to North America. As of right now, their bounty has reached $25 million. If you're looking for a payday, though, I'd stay as far away from them as you could. These guys are dangerous. At one point, Junkrat and Roadhog were called in for a job on behest of a suit from Hyde Global in Sydney. He claimed that a factory in his downtown Sydney had been taken over by Omnic terrorists, and its workers were taken hostage. He wanted to keep the police out of it, so he asked Junkrat and Roadhog to deal with the situation, as he knew there was no one better for getting jobs done quietly. Junkrat was on board. He was happy to take out the Omnics, but the down payment just looked way too enticing. So the pair set off for the factory. Junkrat even opened to the idea of going legit eventually. This job could be a new start for them. What wasn't a new start was Junkrat's approach to problems, which in this case was blowing open a hole in the factory roof and jumping straight in, with no thought of the hostages registering at all. Only, there were none. Just a horde of cop bots. The two blasted their way through the opposition, exited the factory, and then set the whole thing crashing down in yet another explosion. Junkrat spent some time marveling at the destruction, but there were meant to be hostages, weren't there? And Junkrat realized that they weren't Omnics, but Hyde Global automatons. Now at this point the police arrived, despite Junkrat's assertion that they were professionals, and that didn't stop a shootout from starting. Not that Roadhog being called fat by one of the officers helped his disposition. In the hail of gunfire, Roadhog helped Junkrat realize that the suit had set them up. That realization was accurate. The suit had intended for the pair to destroy the factory for the insurance payout. I'm sure he didn't mind getting a bounty on them either. But the next day, Junkrat and Roadhog paid him a visit. stringing him up on a crane and leaving him to die in an explosion that consumed his entire Sydney office block. That's just one example among many about why these guys are dangerous. If you see these fugitives, contact Overwatch or local authorities or somebody as soon as you can. There are some outlaws you just don't want to cross a dark alleyway. However, by that same token, there are also some outlaws who have started making their way back towards the good end of the karmic scale. But that's a story for another day.